Okay, Tanya, I see attendees struggling in, so let's start whenever.
Okay, I can't see the attendees. So thank you for joining as people are logging in. You said we're pretty well logged in, Armando, or should I give it any more time?
We're at 18:20 now, so maybe like a minute.
1920, okay. We're gonna give it a little time. We are expecting quite a turnout, so I want to give everyone the chance to get logged in.
I think we're good, Tanya, to start.
Okay, okay, welcome. My name is Tanya Perkins. I am going to be your host of the webinar today. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our company, our organization, the Arizona Manufacturing Extension Partnership, as well as introduce you to our 3 manufacturing companies that are going to give us a virtual tour of their facility. We have leaders from each company to moderate and answer any questions that you might have in regards to what you're going to see on their videos. But first, Arizona Manufacturing Extension Partnership is part of a national network. So I just wanted to help the audience understand who we are, and there's one in every state. This is our team in Arizona. Basically, everyone you see on the screen here covers the entire state of Arizona, and we have support staff not shown as well. So here's a brief overview of our organization. There's one in every state. Some of the states are privately held, like California, the name is CMTC. Every organization has a different name, but we're all part of Manufacturing Extension Partnership. The one in Indiana is part of Purdue University, and then ours in Arizona is part of an economic development group, which is the Arizona Commerce Authority. So this is the resource manufacturers can use to help them be, like we said in the beginning, the most successful they can be. So there's about 5,100 manufacturers in our state, and our job as client advisors is to meet with them, make contact, let them know we're here to support them, ask for a walkthrough where we can maybe do an assessment of what is going on within their facility. And then as we walk through, we might identify potential issues that we can help them with. And basically, we become their partner, an extension of their team, to help them identify the issue, negotiate the project with either us internally or a third-party provider, and then help manage the project so that it is executed in a manner that the client is happy with. So we either execute it as staff members or we use third-party consultants to help with execution of the projects. The last thing we do is stay in touch, follow up, and make sure if the client has any other future needs that they think of us to help them with those. So that's how our program works in a nutshell. We do have events like this quite often throughout the year. However, just the last 2 months of the year, we kind of slowed down because of the holidays. But I wanted to let you guys know there is a website you can go to join any events that we have in the future. And if you just go to our website and the events page, we'll start posting those again in mid-December. And this is all of our contact information. So I wanted to let you know who we were. We're happy to be the host of this event. Oh, I was gonna try to go back to my, okay, I messed that up. What do you guys see? Okay. All right, so the three companies, as I mentioned before, we have Assa Abloy, who is located off the I-10 in Elliott. They create access for a safer world with operations in over 70 countries. The Phoenix location is responsible for the electric strikes and electromagnetic cabinet locks. Trey Pittman, he's the Senior Manager of Organizational Development and EH&S, will be able to tell you more. So Trey, with that, I'm gonna ask you to share your screen and start your video. And I have to get out of mine.
Thank you for that introduction, Tanya. I'm sharing my screen right now. There we go, you can see it.
Yep.
Great. Okay, good morning. So as Tanya mentioned, my name is Trey. I'll be giving you a quick virtual tour of Assa Abloy, the Electromechanical Solutions Group specifically. Tanya mentioned that Assa Abloy operates in over 70 countries across the globe. We are a publicly traded company. Our headquarters is in Stockholm, Sweden. We do about $7.5 billion in sales on an annual basis, and we have about 55,000 employees across the globe. However, we're a decentralized organization, which means that what we do here in Phoenix, while it's connected to that large global, huge behemoth of a group, is very, very much so locally operated and managed. So the Electromechanical Solutions Group here in Phoenix, we have 525 employees. We do about $200 million in sales on an annual basis. And we've been located as the EMS group in Phoenix since 2011. Our factory is about 200,000 square feet, and it's both warehouse and final assembly. A few things that I'll just share about our operation. So we are ISO 14001 and ISO 9001 certified. And what that means, ISO International Standards Organization, many manufacturing facilities will pursue an ISO 9001 certification, among other certifications, but ISO 9001 is the quality management system, and that basically means that we've documented our processes that we have in place to assure the quality in the design of our products as well as the manufacturing. And then we have a third-party auditor come in once a year to validate that that is in fact happening correctly. And so that's our ISO 9001. We're also ISO 14001. Globally as an organization, we take a lot of pride in environmental stewardship, and 14001 is the quality management or the environmental management system that basically ensures that we're documenting our waste management processes and doing what we can to minimize an adverse impact on the environment. So that's kind of helpful to the community that we're able to provide jobs, but hopefully not adversely impact the environment by doing so. I'll give you a quick walkthrough of the products that we produce in the facility. The first one are electric strikes. That's these guys on the wall right here. They are primarily used in industrial and commercial buildings. Often universities will have them. I've got my employee badge on, or at a university, you'll have your student ID. You'll see a little reader on the wall outside typically, or on the frame of the door. You'll tap your badge near that reader or wave your badge near that reader, and it will grant access, and you'll hear a click. Well, that little click is this electric strike that you're seeing on the plate on the wall right here. That click is activating the electric strike, and it's now allowing you to open the door. And then once the door closes, it will deactivate and the door will be locked again from the outside. The next series of products that we make in-house are power supplies. That's what's on the screen right here. We sell these under several different brands, Life Safety Power, as well as Securitron. And this is a product that's mounted behind the scenes. It's going to be in a server room or a janitor's closet. And these take the incoming building power, which is going to be 120 volts or 240 volts AC alternating current. It's going to step down the voltage to 12 or 24 volts and change it over to DC, because those electric components, such as the strikes that I just showed you, operate on low voltage DC. They are sensitive electronics. We also make, we've won many awards over the years for our various product innovations. We make electromechanical locks. So these are what we'll call narrow style aluminum doors. So if you think of like going to a strip mall, you'll see these different narrow style locks that they can be electrified or they can be purely mechanical. And there was one other product that wasn't depicted there, but that was mag locks, and Tanya mentioned those in her introduction. That's an electromagnetic lock, basically mounted to the top frame of the door. You've got a giant electromagnet, and then mounted to the door itself, there's a flat metal plate called a strike plate. When the door is closed, you apply power to the electromagnet and creates a magnetic bond, and that's what holds the door closed. So our operation is, we have all capabilities in-house, from the concept through design all the way through actually producing and delivering the product. And we take a lot of pride in our innovation with products, and we have some awards that we celebrate internally as we progress and we exemplify those values. So the one is how quickly a product reaches its first $1 million in sales, and you can see that on the screen there, as well as once a quarter, we do what we call our idea incubator, or our innovation days. And that's when we take all of the design engineers, as well as other folks that want to participate. We lock them in a room, not literally, but basically say, you take the day and do whatever you want. Go work on whatever, project you want, or the next innovative idea that you have. At the end of the day, they report out on what they've worked on. And often those ideas make their way into the next iteration of product, or the next product that we design and launch. And those placards you see up there are depicting all of those ideas that came through the idea incubator and ultimately landed into intellectual property or patents. We've got a 4-pillar strategy that we use to run our operation. You can see that up here on the top of the wall. And the 4 pillars of our strategy are to drive smart growth. So we want to continue to grow as an organization. To exemplify brand of choice. So we want to be the brand that the customer wants to purchase compared to our competitors. Achieve process excellence, so finding more efficient, effective, better ways to do everything that we do. And be the employer of choice, so being somewhere that an employee wants to work if they're given the opportunity to choose between here or somewhere else. And we're very action oriented, so we align all of our KPIs, our key performance indicators, as well as our what we call leading indicator metrics, to the 4 pillars of the strategy. That's reviewed on a monthly basis by the site leadership team. The operations leadership team does another review, and we just make sure that we've got a good pulse on the business, so that we're performing holistically across the 4 pillars well. If you focus just on growth, on growing, that often is going to be at the expense of those other pillars. We try to maintain what we call a balanced scorecard across that strategy, and it tends to work out pretty well. You can see there, waving the door, that's a product right on the wall there, that no-touch sensor. That's a sensor that we produce in-house, very popular since the pandemic started. People don't like to have to actually touch door handles anymore. Huge personal note, it's a huge perk of working here is the fact that our bathroom doors are all automated. You don't have to touch them. So I know it's a little cheesy, but it's nice to be able to use our products. So being a large global organization, we do leverage some pretty extensive, capable technology systems to manage our processes. So we run full ERP to manage the purchasing of our incoming material. But sometimes a simple magnet board is the solution. And so even though we have a lot of advanced capabilities, what you're seeing here is how we do our team scheduling for part of our factory environment. And it's as simple as the production lines are depicted there, and then all the folks' names are there. How many hours are you working tomorrow, and how many people need to be staffed on that line? And that's how we schedule the people in the factory, and sometimes the simple solution is the right solution. We do work in a very structured team environment within the factory. Here's one of our production lines right here. We're primarily final assembly. So even though we own the entire design, we outsource a lot of what we'll call more of the heavy duty manufacturing. So we will source machining, we'll source any sort of stamping, metal cutting, forgings, or anything along those lines. We bring in all of those components. We deliver to our customer in most instances on a 3-day lead time. So customer places an order with us. 3 days later, that product is on its way out the door. But all of those components we're sourcing often in a competitive cost country, which means that we have to really be strategic about how we manage our raw inventory, our raw material inventory. And we've got an extensive supply chain organization to support that. But when it comes to the actual final assembly, you're seeing a production line right here. This is a pretty typical example of what our production lines look like. This line right now is staffed with 4 people. there are 4 unique stations. Each of the 4 stations do about 25% of the work to complete a product. And the cycle time on this production line is 42 seconds. So from the time that the gal right here, her name's Tracy, by the way, from the time that she starts her operation on this first station, 42 seconds later, she'll be passing that on to the second station, and so on and so forth. So after about 4 minutes, every 42 seconds, we are finishing a product off of that line. And that's called single piece flow for those of you that have studied that. We try to integrate semi-automation where appropriate, or anything that we can do ergonomically to speed up that process. So if you look here, she's got the drill hanging on a tool balancer, so she doesn't have to wear out her arms all day holding the drill. The weight of the drill is borne by the tool balancer. But this device you see right here is a screw presenter. So rather than picking up the screw with our fingers, we've got the screw presenter presents it head up, and then you can just grab it with the driver just like that. That speeds up the process. The torque values are all validated. We've got some semi-automation on the end of the line where this robot will just pick up boxes. You can see our warehouse. We have to manage that inventory, as I had mentioned previously, very carefully. We don't want to have too much inventory, but by the same token, to keep that 3-day lead time to the customer, we need to manage that inventory appropriately. Our shipping, it's a high volume of shipping, so we've got a couple different processes we use to ship. If it's going to go freight, which after a certain threshold for the day that's going to a specific customer, will convert an order to freight. That's what you're seeing here. They work in teams of 3 to process each order. And then a new innovation that we've got within the last couple of years is some homegrown software that we built that will do a process that we call seamless pick, pack, and ship. And it on the face, it doesn't look that impressive after you see something like Amazon, but for an organization our size with only about 500 people, this is pretty impressive technology to have in place. So you've got the box that you see on the cart here. The system told this gentleman here which box to pick, and the system already knew in advance what products and exactly were going to go in the box, and it picked the right size box to optimize for shipping weight as well as ergonomics, among other factors. And that also enables us to, as we pick the 7 boxes that it's going to take to complete an order, put on the label of the box, hey, this is box 1 of 7, 2 of 7, 3 of 7. Whereas if we use the traditional freight way, not necessarily, and the customer might receive things in a little bit of a hodgepodge. That's a recent enhancement. Back here, we've got our receiving warehouse. We've got lots of inventory. It's strategic inventory. Our mag production is a little bit more involved. So it's not that final assembly 42-second cycle time like I showed you on the one production line. So here you're looking at a pouring table where they're going to dispense a mixed polyurethane material into a heated mold. The cycle time on a mag lock, while it's not 42 seconds, it's only about 11 to 14 minutes. However, with some different cures that have to happen over the course of that, it's still, even though there's only about 12 minutes of hands-on time to build a mag lock, it takes about 7 hours from start to finish to actually be churning a part off of that line. So we're still finishing a part about every 14 minutes per line, but from the time that product starts until it comes off the end of the line is about 7 hours. In comparison to that other line we looked at, it was about 42 seconds. So just a very different process. So we do some more advanced or more complicated processes other than final assembly, but largely we're final assembly. This is just some more footage of that mag lock production. Here's another flow assembly line. This one is a little more electrically focused. So this is building power supplies. Again, they're still working in teams. They're still working on a flow, but it's more electrical assembly as opposed to that mechanical assembly that you're looking at elsewhere. In this, our test lab, we do all of our testing and qualification on site. So for our mechanical components, what you're seeing right here, we'll install the component onto a door, and then we have to cycle test it, which means we need to open and close that door 300, 400, 500,000 times to make sure that the product is going to live for the lifespan of the door. And that's what you're seeing going on right there. So right there, 142,136, only 220,000 to go. Smaller scale, same thing, just testing it on a test fixture as opposed to an entire door. And just an overview, kind of the whole factory, you can see it all in motion working. You see all those individual production lines. Our water spiders or material handlers are going and replenishing those lines. and just an outside view again of the facility. So that's a quick overview of Assa Abloy EMS Group. We are hiring right now. Check us out on just Google Assa Abloy jobs and then sort by the jobs in Arizona, and that'll put you with us. And I don't know, with that, Tanya, are there any questions that came in?
I haven't seen any other than, is this going to be a video that we can share after? And it's true, yes, we are recording it. It will go on YouTube. So if you guys think of, people that you want to see it and show it to later, you'll have that opportunity. But for anyone on the webinar today, if you have any questions, I'm monitoring the chat. So just please add them to the chat, and I'll stop the host and ask any questions that you have during the presentation, or we can wait and you can ask them at the end. So the next company I want to introduce is E3. They're located, E3 Displays is the full name. They're located off North 7th Street between the 101 freeway and Deer Valley Drive. They design and manufacture custom LCD and touch panel solutions to multiple industries, including medical, which business for them really took off during the pandemic, since they were doing the displays for ventilators along with other types of medical equipment, and as well as multiple other types of displays that you see today. We have the founder and CEO of E3 Displays. His name is Chuck Rarig, and he will be your host of his video. And again, if you have questions as he's talking, just put them in the chat. So go ahead, Chuck, take it away. You're still on mute, Chuck. You have to undo that. Yep.
All right, thank you, Tanya.
There
Can
we
you
go.
everybody see the video okay?
Yes. We can.
Okay. So let me stop at the front door here and let you know a little bit about E3 Displays before I take you inside. Funny story, as you see the front door, as we've been here in this facility now 11 years, people will come up and see E3 Displays and say, hey, can I get a display for my phone? Can I get a display for, I've had people ask me for displays. I got an idea for a sign company. Can I grab some displays from you? So from the outside, it really doesn't do what we do, and I'll explain that in a minute. Our history is we started in 2007 with, as we call it, 5 guys and a gal in the desert. And we've grown to 55 employees, along with some other activities along that timeline. The Phoenix operation you're looking at right now, we moved into in 2010, and now occupy the entire building at 20,000 square feet. We've grown from that 5 guys and a gal in the desert to 55 employees worldwide. And we've grown from a startup struggling for revenue up to, with the help of AZMEP yesterday, we developed our annual plan for 2022, and we've got a target of $20 million revenue and $24 million in bookings. So the business from a 11-year, 12-year period now has been very dynamic. Always challenges with it, but the history of the company is continuing to grow. What we do now is, besides friends asking me for, can I make their display sunlight readable so they can watch football games from their outside of their patio, which we could do if we wanted to. We really make what we call very custom integrated technical solutions for a host of customers. As Tanya said, we are in the medical industry. We produced a huge amount of ventilators last year during the pandemic, and we continue to produce across various markets. Our solutions range from anywhere from a 1.2-inch display, which goes in the intuitive surgical robotic medical equipment, to an 84-inch display, and you'll see a bit about that when I get into the building here, That 84-inch is the world's first fully automated poker table, gaming table. In between 1-inch and 84-inch, we go ahead and produce a tremendous amount of solutions. Again, we produce only custom displays. So what I'll call our niche in the market is working with customers, and we have known this for quite some time with our display expertise. In the early days of displays, you could go ahead and pay manufacturers in Japan predominantly millions of dollars to get a display to fit your needs. As the people like Dell, Apple, and others took over, and you saw the introduction from, now I'm aging myself, CRTs to LCD displays. Once you got past the custom feature and Dell and Apple took over with their large demands, you could no longer get custom displays to fit your needs unless you were willing to pay millions and millions of tooling dollars. So what that created was, as the digital world came about and human interface devices came about, that created a market where manufacturers of all sorts of equipment, and you can't go anywhere today without seeing a display somewhere. You had special markets that said, I need a display, but I need it to fit in this environment. So as we affectionately say, we became the but factor because we have a host of engineers with display experience who know how to design displays into product and manipulate the physics of light and other attributes to create integrated custom solutions for those customers. Those customers include, obviously, as Tanya said, military, medical, and avionics. But with an acquisition we made in 2018 of a small display company, we also have offshore, low-cost, high-volume solutions. And another outcome of the pandemic that we realized, and some of you may have encountered it, but with everybody staying at home, things like hot tubs became a huge demand. So we actually have a waterproof display with a touchscreen that we supplied to a spa manufacturer in Canada, who has pulled in all of their orders through 2022. And we provide a solution that we design here in Phoenix and then have manufactured in Asia by a contract manufacturer whose volumes are the 50 to 100,000 a year. And that again is a result of a different market. So we actually provide out of this facility, E3 Displays, two complementary solutions to the market. The very high reliable military avionics and military that go through rugged, what I'll call very rugged regulation and qualification. And we produce higher volume, low cost displays that go into what we call the commercial market. Both of them are driven by our quality standards. And the other discriminator that I've coined in my leadership team and my sponsor from AZMEP sort of chuckles at, but we have an insane view of customer service. And they know that I'm the most insane when it comes to customer service. So that's our distinguishing, that's our discriminator. But what distinguishes us in this market, we carry the largest engineering staff that any of our competitors do, so that we can ensure a solid, very solid solution to the customers. So with that, that's a little bit of the history as stated, and you'll see it previously. We are an ISO 2008, 2015 certified facility. I was proud to say that in our early years, 4 or 5 years ago, when we first received our registration, the ISO auditor, who was very thorough and very tough, and as Trey mentioned, making sure you document all your processes, we had grown in approximately 5 years from 5 guys and a gal in the desert to a fully ISO registered company, where he stated of all his 28 years in doing registrations, very thorough registrations, we were the second company that passed completely on the first try for ISO registration through his auditing with no major or no minor incidents. So that's something we are very proud of, and we continue to enhance and continue that standard today. So with that, I will start the video and take you inside the door and stop it at various points. And again, we are located, for those that know the valley, we are just south of the FBI building at 7th Street in Deer Valley. This is our manufacturing area, and we'll get more into it. It's 10,000 square feet. You can see the differentiation between the two floor colors. That's because all of the floors in the lighter gray have a carbon impregnated surface for electrostatic discharge ESD protection. And we have to operate in a very, very, very clean environment, both inside the clean room you will see and outside of it with the clean hoods. Any of you that, well, all of you, I assume, have purchased a phone, a TV, etc. And if you have one speck or one flaw on that TV, you will see it with your eye. Your eye will attract to that. So literally, we have to ensure that the output of our product meets criteria that virtually is perfect. Now, we do have specifications with some of our customers for cosmetic defects, but in general, they have to be very, very good. And one particular customer, in very specifically, they use a fiber optic high definition camera that attaches to our display, and they inspect turbine blades on jet aircraft. They inspect gas lines on oil wells, high pressure oil type of lines, and to avoid any false positives, because they're looking with that high definition camera for flaws that could cause a catastrophic event, we have to build literally perfect displays. No dust, no particles, no pixel outs, nothing. They have to be perfect so there's no false positives. And to the point where a touch panel manufacturer said, we cannot make the touch panel to the spec that you require, Mr. Customer. Send it to E3 Displays. They can make they know your requirements since they make your display, so they can make the touch panel for you, and I'll show you that in a minute. We do have some manual operations. We continue to automate, but because of the specific nature of some of our products, the best set of eyes is the people themselves. Actually, our employees go through a screening process for certain physical attributes, including eyes and dexterity, because of the fragility of the devices they're working on, and the need to be able to detect this criteria that we operate to. Here is the 3,000 square foot class 10,000 clean room. During the installation, we put in what I'll call additional HEPA filters. HEPA filters are the key filters that keep the particulates out of the clean room. So while it's rated as a class 10,000 and we cannot advertise it more than that, it actually operates through our particle counting metrics more in the tune of a class 1,000 clean room. Very, very clean environment. Now, I will say that our video was taken here towards the end of the day when most of the shift went home. So I said when I looked at the video, it looks so clean, it looks like we don't do anything. Okay, that machine right there is out of Japan. It's a very sophisticated lamination machine. This one you're looking at, that is the area that we put in extra HEPA filters to create a very ultra clean environment. And back to that touch panel manufacturer, And what they did was laminate a film-based sensor onto a piece of glass, and they could not meet the cosmetic criteria that that customer I referred to did. So them knowing we had this capability here and we put in extra, what I'll call clean protocols, we make that, we literally laminate what a touch panel manufacturer does. We laminate the touch sensor to the piece of glass to create the touch panel assembly with that machine right there. Now here is what we call, a lot of you may or may not realize this. This is our golden tool, and sometimes your golden tool becomes your strength, and your greatest strength becomes a weakness in marketing. So we are known as optical bonding experts, and what optical bonding is, it's laying down, as you can see on this display, it's laying down a layer of adhesive that goes ahead and has a touch panel or a piece of glass applied over the LCD, and it's UV curable, and you'll see that in a minute. But because of the preciseness that we require and the human eye being able to pick out defects, this is a very critical process and one we're known for. Our yields for optical bonding is roughly at 98.8%. Typically in Asia with high volume manufacturers, the bonding process yields are in the 75 to 80%. What that has caused or propagated is the branding of, or wanting to understand our E3 optical bond process. We do have intellectual property in the form of trade secrets tied up into this process. And we helped a sister company in Taiwan come up with this process. And they in Taiwan replicated the 98, 99% yields. And that word quickly spread to where we are being approached and have been approached to not only try and license our process, but that glue you see that the operator is putting down is designed by E3 through a custom chemistry. So we own all the properties to that glue, and it's a very special chemistry, unlike any others. And we, through another one of our sister companies, E3 Materials, have sold this adhesive into Asia. And the distinguishing feature is this, as I put it, this little company, E3 Materials, is getting a brand name in Asia when we're competing with companies, and you'll recognize these companies by the name of DuPont, Henkel, Sony Chemical, and E3 Materials has become, in many cases, the choice of selection based on its properties, based on the characteristics and attributes we've designed into it. Plus, with the adhesive comes our process, and you can see yields in Asia in those high volume factories that produce 100,000 units a day in the automotive sector using our materials and seeing, and you can imagine a 15% yield increase or an 18% yield increase over what they had is a tremendous money savings and tremendous all the way around for them. So that this process here, while it's a still photo, is a discriminating feature for us. But at the same time, as I go back to my original statement and say the greatest strength is your greatest weakness, people didn't realize we could do a lot of value add assembly, you'll see in a moment, around this. They thought, oh, go to E3 for optical bonding. That's our golden tool in our chest, but we do a lot more than that. Here again is a manual process where the gentleman is taping this up. You saw that glue being poured on there. In a minute, you'll see this dispensing of, it's the same chemistry as our glue, but it has a mixture to it that creates a dam so the glue doesn't leak into the LCD. Those are the UV curable ovens tuned to the chemistry that we developed. Those operate at a certain nanometer specific for the chemistry. There's that dam process I was talking about. That then is cured and stops the liquid from going down into the LCD, which is catastrophic. There is one of our operators doing a final inspection throughout, looking for defects. This gentleman here has been with us since the beginning, and what he's doing when we do get a failure or a return from a customer, we do an intensive failure analysis and write a very extensive corrective action report, both if it's our issue or the customer's issue. Most of our returned issues are customers installing the display assemblies in their products incorrectly, causing failures on our end. And so we go through a failure analysis and attempt to determine a root cause.
Chuck, we might need to let the video play out just for the sake of time.
What's that?
Maybe just finish the video and answer any questions for the sake of time.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends the video, Tanya.
Perfect. Thank you. So again, if you have any questions, I haven't seen any come through the chat, but let us know. Leaders of these companies would be happy to answer any questions that you have. I do want to allow time for the next company to tour us through their facility. This is going to be DS Electronics. DS Electronics has been a leader in printed circuit boards since the 1990s. They specialize in a variety of products, from high-density evaluation and test boards to high-end LED lighting products. They're located in the East Valley, Gilbert area. They're a second-generation family-owned and operated manufacturing company. And today we have Andy Stemple, the Vice President of Engineering. His brother, Will, is the Vice President of Finance. And they are brothers taking over the business from their dad, who started, like I said, 30 years ago. So Andy, if you can tour us and talk about your business.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. I'm Andy, along with my brother Will here. We're both ASU guys, so that's kind of our background on engineering, and Will is a finance guy. So let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see us?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so just a quick background of who we are and what we're doing. Our business started about in the 1990s by our dad, and he basically just decided to take a chance and start his own business doing electronic contract manufacturing. The majority of the time we are based in Tempe, right down the street from ASU. And about a year and a half ago, we purchased a larger building in Gilbert, from about 10,000 to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing, really just to expand on what we can do. We're a little bit different versus the two other companies who already presented. We don't make a specific product to sell. We have a bunch of different customers who have their own products, and we build for them. So we will, it's a lot of basically from, we can do small proto runs up to pretty high volume manufacturing. So we might have a customer who says, hey, I need 10 boards that they're trying to prove that their design works. And we have other customers who already have a mature design, and we're going to build 100,000 boards a month for them. So it's a pretty wide range of different products that we work on. Basically from first responder fire systems, 911 systems that go into fire stations, to pretty high-end LED lighting, stuff that's going into some of the new Ford Broncos. And there's some Toyota lights in there as well. To bike lighting, and you'll kind of see that throughout the video. So we will go ahead and start the video and take you inside. So this is kind of a quick overview of our manufacturing floor. The machines, I don't know if anyone can see my mouse, but the machines here, we have 6 different pick and place machines on 3 different assembly lines. So that helps us optimize getting products out faster to our customers. And that's kind of the beginning of our whole process. Most of our management staff has an engineering background. So we work with our customers, some who have a mature design, some who have more of a protos. And we help them kind of tweak it for eventually high volume manufacturing. That's the goal for every company. And then once we're ready to run a design, we have to set it up on one of these machines. And these machines basically take a bare printed circuit board. And what we do is we program the machines, and the machines pick up different components, resistors, capacitors, integrated circuits, and they place them on the board where they need to go. And they're placing them on the board, and then the board has to go through an oven with a reflow profile that we design as well, to then bond the parts to the board. And we'll go ahead. So right here is one of our pick and place machines, and basically there's on this one there 6 heads, I believe, on this machine, and it goes and picks up a part, and then it places it down where we tell it to. And so we have different operators on each machine, and their responsibility is to load the correct parts onto the machine, onto the feeders is what they're called, and then load the feeders into the machine and make sure we're running the right program, make sure everything is running smoothly. So we're always looking for more SMT operators. It's a skill that not a lot of people have because it's a pretty uncommon skill. So mainly we do a lot of training on site. If someone has a machine operating background from, hey, I operated a CNC machine before, typically it's a fairly easy thing to pick up coming into this world, but it's a little different. So you can see they operate pretty quickly. So right here we can see this is a board that has just come out of our SMT machines, and now it's going through our oven. And the oven, this one has, I believe, 10 different zones in this oven. And we have to design a reflow profile based on the mass of the board, the components that are on there. And so we have to set all these different temperatures and pressures throughout the oven, so we get a good solder joint between the actual part and the board itself. And so it turns into a little bit of science, and you have to have a proper design. If you don't have a good design, you're gonna get poor solder quality. And then at the end of the day, the end customer, a part might fall off, might not last for as long as it should. You might have too much voiding in the solder, and that's all stuff we like to avoid. And so here, this is a pretty interesting machine that we have. This is called an AOI, which is an automated optical inspection.
Andy, we're having trouble hearing you. Is there a way to turn up your volume or get closer to the mic?
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is you guys hear me, Tanya? Better?
That's better. Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay. So this machine here is an AOI machine. It's an automated optical inspection. And so what it does is we program a finished board, and we tell the machine to go and take pictures of different components on the board, look at all the solder joints, make sure nothing's rotated, as in maybe a part was 180 degrees out and it's supposed to be not 180 degrees out. And it looks for any defects after the manufacturing process. So we run basically every board we build through AOI, and it is a faster way of doing a final inspection of a board, and it ensures everything is good to work for an end product. It's just an image of what the screen looks like for an AOI operator. An AOI operator, their background is going to be having IPC knowledge of, there's different classes of boards you can build to. So you have a class 1, class 2, class 3, etc. And that's going to tell the operator what type of defects are allowed for the board. Class 2 versus class 3, there's some differences where, hey, class 2 is allowed to have this much rotation or this much voiding in the solder. Class 3 is not allowed to have that. So his job is to go run the boards through the machine, and then the machine will flag errors, and then the operator has to determine if that is a real problem or if it's not. And this machine in particular is 3D, so it's highlighting the solder joint right here on this resistor. He's going to then look and rotate the solder joint around in the screen, basically just to his right, and he'll be able to determine then, hey, is there too much voiding there? Does the solder look good, or does it need to be reworked? And then one area that a lot of boards go through is our test engineering area. So this is Tom over here. He gets a lot of boards coming through. Could be stuff for NXP or on semiconductor, for example, where they have a new product a new IC that they're developing. It's on some kind of eval board. We have a test procedure that they've provided. We program the parts, we run it through the test procedure, and often troubleshoot it because it's all new product development. So that's kind of part of his job. The other part is a very mature product that needs to be, hey, we have to program this microcontroller and then run a test procedure with the final product. So it could be auto diagnostic toolkits. So basically something you plug into your car, you read you read the computer on your car. Other products are LED lighting. So, hey, light it up. Are we drawing the correct amount of current that we should be drawing? Is the light output correct? So he goes through quite a bit. There's certainly always opportunities for more test engineering help that we're looking for, because it's turned into a very busy department for us, because more and more customers are requesting that we test their product, and we found that they want basically just us to ship them a final finished product instead of them doing the testing themselves and verification. And we also have been doing more final assembly. So right now he's putting together some bike lights. So we take the boards that we build and then we put them into an entire case with lenses on there, and then we put it in a box and we ship it to the customer, and then he just gets a bunch of bike lights instead of instead of having to do any assembly himself. So that's another area that we do. A lot of these employees here are all doing through-hole assembly on boards. So after the first machines we saw are all surface mount, so they pick up components and put them on the board. These ones are all through-hole components, so they have to be basically hand placed into the boards and then either soldered by hand or soldered by machine. And we have a couple different, it'll depend on the volume of the project that we're doing. It'll depend if we put it onto one of our robotic solder machines, which we'll see in a minute, or if they're just going to do it by hand. If it's 5 boards with 1 or 2 components, we'll solder them by hand quickly because we can get a faster product that way. If we're doing 10,000 boards, then we're going to put it onto one of our automated solder machines. And right here you can see this gentleman, kind of a blurry picture where I paused it, but he is illuminating an off-roading light bar right now. And for this particular customer, we do 100% light up test for every single board that we produce for them. And that just ensures that the quality is there for every board we ship out for these guys. And so a lot of lighting going on here. I think Trey hit on this one before as well. You can kind of see here, we have our old-fashioned magnetic planning board as well, going on all of our assembly lines. You can also see the TV over here, which is with our ERP system, our electronic planning board that we're testing out as well to see, if we like that one better. We have kind of stuck with our old-fashioned one because it works pretty well, and it's kind of funny how we try to, sometimes more technology is more work. So here's our robotic selective solder machine. We have 2 of these as well. Basically just a fountain of solder. We have our through-hole components on the boards, and then we program the machine, and it comes up and basically it essentially solders, it does solder all the leads on the components. And this is good for high volume production because it's just not feasible for a single person to solder, 10,000 boards with 100 different through-hole components on there per board. And this speeds up the process, and it produces a reliable finish for each product as well. Now our video seems to be paused. Not sure what's going on.
Buffering. Probably your internet.
Yeah, amazing. Well, that's weird. I'm still talking to you guys, so. All right, looks like we're not gonna, I'm not sure if that's gonna finish or not. Let's see. I don't remember what else was in the video, but I guess we can pause there.
Okay, I mean, I think this gives us a great idea of what you guys are, you're a contract manufacturer, like you said, making products that go into someone else's product, like
Right.
is a big one for you guys.
Right, so we work on a lot of different products, and that's kind of what makes it, I guess, our jobs interesting, because we see stuff from small startup companies who grow and become really large and then get bought by bigger companies. And we have with all of our engineers on staff, we do have actually a pretty big hand in helping some of these companies grow. And so it's really interesting to watch them. And we get to have a design input, along with them as they grow. We're working on some really interesting products now with electric vehicle startup companies that are based in Arizona. I mentioned bike lighting before. These guys they're based in Chicago. They've really taken off pretty astronomically over the past year and a half. And for a lot of these companies, we provide design input as well, engineering input, along with manufacturing input, because a lot of guys have really good designs and ideas for how to make a product work, but then physically implementing it into a final system can be difficult. And we've been doing that for 30 years now. And so we kind of help provide our knowledge and help companies become successful. So it's certainly an interesting job day to day. It's always something different.
So Andy, there is a question from the audience, and actually it applies to all three of you, but I'm going to see, and Chuck did put an answer in the chat, but the question is, how easy is it for you to find the talented engineers in Arizona that you're looking for?
Lately, it's been really tough. Of course, we would love to have someone who has experience, running an SMT machine or doing inspection of printed circuit boards, but that's really just not the case. There's not that many people out there who have this experience. So we do a lot of training on site, and a lot of times what we look for is, a motivated person who wants to come to work and is willing to learn. And then we will train them how to solder, we'll train them how to run these different machines and then become successful and grow within our company. So it has been a challenge finding people. We're looking for more people now, including test engineering help, and machine operators, hand solderers. So because we're busy, and so it has been difficult just finding people.
Right.
I think my answer, to elaborate, Tanya, real quick, was be similar to Annie, because they don't teach display technology in colleges. So we hire engineers fresh out of college and train them. The engineers are pretty easy to, I'll call it, find, especially out of college. As he said, my middle management and operator level are extremely difficult to find.
With the previous experience. Yeah.
Yes.
For us at Assa Abloy, it depends on which type of engineer you're talking about. So if you're looking for mechanical design or manufacturing engineer or quality engineer or industrial engineer, usually we've got a pretty wide talent pool in Arizona that we can pull from to fill those roles. When it comes to electrical design engineering, yeah, that's where we struggle, and we just are not. We don't have a large enough electrical design organization to support the in-house training. So we're not generally positioned to hire somebody right out of college to go into that type of role.
That one I agree, Trey. I am looking for one of those right now for the last 6 months.
I never stopped looking for them.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that's the key. And we need more companies to hire out of college, give experience so that you can then pull from that pool of employees. But right now, the challenge is, you know, the companies that can train right out of college and don't need them already with the 3 to 5 years of experience. So I think that's something that Arizona needs to hopefully get better at, finding companies that can train so they don't leave our state.
Right. And just to let, I don't know if any of them attended, I think that the AZMEP organization knows this. I have a conduit to Northern Arizona University since I'm a graduate of there. I'm so old that ASU didn't even have an engineering school back then. But we have 2 new NAU graduates. My VP of engineering is from ASU. So we have a conduit to both, but especially to NAU because I sponsor some capstone projects and so forth. And that really gets the engineers off the ground and running.
And I don't know who exactly is in the audience, but something I'll share. If there are any engineers in the audience, I would just say, be open to the type of position that you're willing to move into. So even if you aspire to go long-term into like an electrical design engineering role, it's very difficult to go fresh out of school into that type of role, but you could go get your feet wet in a manufacturing engineering type role that's electrically focused, or a test engineering that's electrically focused role. And that's often how we're able to bring people into the organization at the more of the entry level, and then they can practice and they can learn and they can show their ability to move into more of that design capacity. I mean, so we've got an example right now. We've got a newly graduated mechanical engineer, took a role as a tech support representative. I was all over that right away because he's learning every single one of our products and the families, the insides and outs of how they work. So when the next mechanical design, and that's a mechanical position, but mechanical design engineer spot comes open, guess who's probably going to get it? He'll already know our products from being willing to go do something that's a little bit, it's not the most appealing sounding role when you're fresh out of college, but just know that stepping stone can enable you to be successful in the long term on your path.
Absolutely, Trey. I have a mechanical engineer with a master's degree that started out in the factory and then doing the optical bonding because he had the dexterity. Now, as he's into design engineering, he absolutely understands the challenges. You're right on the money.
Thank you so much to all 3 companies. We have ran past time. This was scheduled for an hour. But there is so much interest, and I want to make sure that you saw that the video is available if you email Sarah h@azcommerce.com. She's going to individually send the link out for this video, this recorded webinar. And there was one final question. I don't know how much time we have to elaborate, but as far as a percentage, how many of your suppliers are based in Arizona? So E3 said about 40% of his suppliers are in Arizona. What would you say, DS Electronics, for suppliers?
So it's tough. Our suppliers, we buy a lot of different ICs, resistors, capacitors, integrated circuits, and a lot of that is manufactured in fabs overseas. So that's the bulk of what we're purchasing.
We're more of a supplier though to someone like Assa Abloy, like you know what I'm saying? So it's a bit different.
You're more.
Yeah,
part of the supply. So what about you guys, Trey?
Probably 5 to 10% of our supply base would be in Arizona.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Small. But again, we're selling. We're not selling to the consumer. We're selling to the distributors. We're selling to the contract manufacturers. We're selling to the other people that are then doing something else with our product. And very similar to what they just mentioned, we're sourcing very similar components that generally speaking aren't produced in the United States. They're going to come from overseas.
Yeah. Yep. And hopefully through these types of things and just connect more with what's in our backyard, we can get to know more Arizona companies and buy more local if the opportunity presents itself. So we're hoping to see more of that in the near future. Again, thanks everyone for coming out and joining our webinar today. This was the next best thing to doing it in person. And hopefully next year we can do something in person. But again, this concludes our manufacturing month of October. This is our last, hurrah before the month ends. So thanks everybody. And
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
And thank you. I got one quick one. Andy, I sent you a note. I want to bring some business to you in Arizona. So give me a call.
All right, great.
yay.
Thank you, Chuck. We appreciate that.
You bet.
Come on down, Chuck. We'll give you a-
Will do.
They have a great new website you should check out and
It's AZMEP.
ask for a quote right through the website.
Absolutely. I sent you a note. Give me a shout.
Okay, great. Thank you so
All
much.
right, everyone. Thank you. And I'm going to let Armando end this.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm supposed to. Okay.
There we go.
I don't know. Sarah?
Not sure where Armando went.
I think we all just leave the webinar in the
Okay.
bottom.
Everybody just needs to click end and we'll be done.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
You're
Bye-bye.
welcome.